You know as well as I do that when you start out working out, a lot of the gains at first are you increase your neurological capabilities. You start to literally innervate more muscle fibers. You learn how to recruit more motor units. Like this is a known thing, right? So kids and beginners, they just literally can't recruit as many muscle fibers as we can. Um, so it has far more to do than just tissue development stress. So like I can take an 8-year-old kid and I can have them squat every day and they'll recover just fine because they literally can't fatigue their nervous system. So our tissues have almost an infinite ability to recover if we train them hard enough for long enough. Our nervous system does not. And so so it's all respective to your relative 1 rep max. So let's say a guy can deadlift 1,000 pounds. If he's deadlifting 80% of that, that's 800 pounds. Okay. He cannot do more than a few reps of that a week. But let's say somebody can deadlift 100 pounds. 80% of that is 80 pounds. I could literally have that person deadlift 80 pounds over and over again relative to their 1 rep max, and they can recover because the neural drive and neural demand is just night and day different. So, a high central nervous impulse is literally on the far edge of that flight or flight spectrum. It's not meant to be a daily thing, especially once it's developed. So when we train hard and long, we build the capacity to overtrain very easily because we built this enormous generator, right? That just puts out these strong signals and we can wear ourselves down. So as you age in training, a higher and higher percentage of your volume needs to be lower intensity, because you're able to tap into stuff that beginners just aren't. So when these kids talk to this like super low volume, high intensity Mike Menser stuff, which, Mike Menser brought some very valuable information to the field, like there is diminishing returns to more and more volume. Recovery is paramount. Like, intensity is far more important, or quality is far more important than quantity. All of that stuff is true. But there is a time when we need to build a large base, a large foundation, and that requires a lot of volume and practice.
Is there ceiling, I guess, on our? I know the answer. Let me phrase this in a way that I don't sound like an idiot asking the question. So, I guess, can you train your nervous system to hold more capacity? You mentioned, the 80% at the 80 pounds of the 1 rep max being 100. You do it every day. You scale it up 10x. Now 1,000 pounds becomes 800. Like, can you train that person to where they can recover quicker from the 800, like the nervous system capacity training?
Yeah, you absolutely can. And I think it was the Bulgarians did this with their lifters. But is it worth it? Because in order they said so they would squat their max like every day. But in order to get there, they would have to go through what's called the dark period, which is like they would talk about it. It's like 2 years of misery. Like, and they were never head and shoulders above any of the other lifters that didn't do that. They did well, but they didn't become exceptionally strong by doing that. And for most of us, it's just not worth the misery because most of us, I cannot think of a single thing that requires day in, day out, max effort, strength, and power. Like in your life, there's even like dudes that play soccer and basketball every day. A very small amount of that is truly max effort. You know what I mean? Our capacity to work is much more important than our capacity to work at max intensity every single day. So yeah, theoretically you can. It's brutal. I would say 1 in a million people could actually do that. And it's just not worth it. Like your body can literally adapt to anything, but is that adaptation worth it? It will take over your life for 2 years and you will be fucking miserable.
Yeah, I did Smolov about 12 years ago. I was at 500 max squat already. I was never a power lifter. Like I was a bodybuilder that enjoyed power building training. So I was always like, I wanted to have big numbers in the gym, but they were like the most important. The time I was 1 rep in 500, I was like, I think I can get to 6. And I'm like, I want to do it quickly, like crazy. Like this was just the mindset of me in my early 30s. I'm like, I'm just going to do whatever it takes. So I did the 4-day-a-week Smolov, which you're doing like 80%. Like in it dug this deep hole. I only made it through the first 7 weeks because my body shut down. Like I blew out blood vessels in my eyes. My eyes were bloodshot red for like 3 weeks on end. I did end up putting 65 pounds on, but it took me almost like 6 months to physically recover from 6 weeks of squat training. So I know exactly what you're kind of
So
speaking
that
to
would
there.
work if you were in like a Soviet bloc country and you just didn't have a choice. And when you got to that point where you knew you should quit, you just wouldn't, they would be like, no, you're going to do it. And you're either going to die because you don't give a fuck, or you'll adapt, you know? And that was the beginning of that dark period they talk about. It's like 2 years of that misery. And it's just, I mean, that's just not worth it for most people. And if you want to try it, and but I want to differentiate too between squatting very heavy, like you said, north of 80% of your one rep max daily, and squatting every day. Because you can go in and squat 60% of your max every single day, and that there's a good argument that would be very beneficial for you. Because most days are very easy. It's a whole easy strength thing. You go in, let's say I can squat 500 pounds and I put on 300, and I'll do 3 sets of five of that every day. And when I leave that workout, I feel good. I'm not tired at all. There is something to be said there if you have the time to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I know there's been various squat everyday programs, like Mark Lewliner from Tiger Fitness threw one out there, like 30-day squat every day, and it was different rep schemes, different squat movements, different squat patterns. This would fall under the category of functional type of work, like because every day you're going to be squatting, doing something, right? You're going to squat down on the toilet, you're going to squat down to pick something up. If you got children, you're going to squat down with them. So training that pattern, is that where your, I guess, mass method has come from? It's like I want to look great, but it's also this functional component, like to living.
A little bit. So I do nod to the fact that people want to look good too. So there's a lot of hypertrophy work in there. So I divide my workouts into slow. So which is tissue prep. So I believe the warm up shouldn't be like fast, high rep. Believe it should be isometrics and slow movements through that range of motion. So slow and then flow. And flow is more the movement patterns that we talked about, getting things to move in sequence. Slow, flow, go. The go training is like the athletic movements, like the snatches and the jumps and the athletic type stuff that builds athleticism. But that go segment does have some hypertrophy and strength benefits as well. And then after that is the grow segment. And what I mean by grow is grow strength. So that's the heavy basic compound movements to build functional heavy strength, like squats, deadlifts, heavy bench press, things like that. And then at the end, it's just the show. So it's like that's the auxiliaries. And so it's not revolutionary. It's just I segment things to help people comprehend it a little bit better. So it's just slow, flow, go, grow, show. And all of my workouts are pretty much arrayed a little bit like that. And then I don't believe that you have to like avoid muscle groups. So a lot of people, like, let's say they did legs one day, they're just afraid to run or jump or do anything the next day. They don't want they believe that muscle needs to just be babied. And I don't baby muscles. Like, I'm not going to avoid those muscle groups. Like, they're going to work the next day, as part of other stuff that we're doing. And yeah, you'll be really sore at first. That kind of stuff you can adapt to, because I developed something called undulating neural loading. Like Charlie Francis, he used to be the high low guy. So high neural load, low. But and that worked well for track athletes. But I believe there's things we can do to enhance certain systems and functionality that don't have a high neural demand that we can do while our nervous system recovers. So we have to separate things that are very demanding for our tissues and feel very hard, but actually are just moderate or low as far as your neurological demand goes. So you can do 2 all out 100-meter sprints one day, and that is a very high neural load. Your nervous system will take a hit from that. You can go out and do a 5-mile run, which is very hard. You're breathing and you're tired. Your nervous system takes about the same hit from that 5-mile run as it did from just 200-meter all-out sprints. And people can't, but the 5-mile run is much harder on your tissues and your cardiovascular system. So people can't separate neural loading with tissue loading. And so my system, it's undulating because your nervous system takes a few days to recover. So I'll stack a lot of the high neural demand stuff early in my microcycle, which is like 7 to 10 days. So it's like moderate, short, very high, long and high, which is like my leg day, and then moderate, and then it'll be like very low, low, so it just gives your nervous system 4 to 5 straight days to recover. But during those days, you're still working. You're just kind of avoiding very high neural load activities. So very high neural load activities are max effort Olympic lifts, max effort sprints, max effort plyometrics, things like that, where a very small dose will have a very large impact on your nervous system, even if you don't feel very tired, like physically afterwards. And then moderate loading is like bodybuilding style compound lifts, like especially for your upper body. So if you do very heavy squatting, that's a high neural load. But if you do like 3 sets of 12 squatting, that's more of a moderate load on your nervous system. So that kind of stuff, you can still kind of do that and let your nervous system start to recover because it's a systemic thing, right? I think I droned on a little bit there, but that's kind of how I arrange. So I don't, I do keep in mind body part specific training. Like I don't usually train legs multiple days in a row, but it's not based on body parts, which everybody else bases their training on body parts, right? You don't, you're not going to do chest 3 days in a row, but they don't take into consideration the neural demand. So I base my training on the neural demand of that day. And the movement specific stuff is secondary to that neural demand. That is, I'd say one, that's the fundamental difference between mass method and everything else.